Resources is hosting this Harlem Youth Town Hall. We like to welcome every single person in the room. I know that they're going to set our rules and way of being, but that'll happen in a little bit. And I'll introduce Ebony. Ebony is a participant with Street Corner Resources. This is her first year in college. She just finished her first year, and she's been active with Street Corner Resources. This is her second year, and we're really proud of her. And she will introduce the mayor. Before you do that, I want to definitely say thank you to Coach Brooks, whose space this is, who welcomed us into this space at the drop of a dime. We have been partners for the last 5 years working together, and the only thing I want to do is kind of throw in something for him, that we need to get this space fully functional so that we can use this to bring our young people in to prevent violence. So I told him I was going to speak on his behalf real quick. So Coach Brooks, thank you. And you do a lot of this single-handedly, and don't think it goes unseen. We see you. We see you. We see you. All right, with that, I give you Ebony.
Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. My name is Ebony Edwards, and the first person that I would like to introduce today is the mayor, who we respect for focusing on the issue of gun violence and supporting and putting funding into cure violence. Many of the young people in this room are able to have access to resources, counseling, and most importantly, jobs with your help. We thank the mayor for his continued, consistent support. Community, it's my pleasure to introduce our New York Mayor, Bill de Blasio. The next person that I would like to introduce is Commissioner Marco Carrion, Commissioner of the Mayor's Community Affairs Unit. Clap it up, clap it up. Thank you for being here. Another person is the Chief Jeffrey Madry. Let me say that again. I'm sorry, I didn't do that right. Give it up for Chief Jeffrey Madry, the Chief of the NYPD Community Affairs Unit. Thank you. Another person we have in the room right here is New York State Senator Brian Benjamin. Thank you, everybody, for attending today. All right. First off, before we get into our discussion, we just want to set the ground rules and make sure that everyone is being respectful. So if you look over to your left, over there, there's the rules of discussion over on the wall. So the first is to listen with respect. The second rule would be one person speaks at a time. You will have an opportunity to come up to the microphone and express a concern. Another rule is to stay open to new perspectives, social distance, and keep your masks on. We ask that everybody stay present and off of your phones or any other devices. And lastly, to raise general concerns and keep away from specifics. We don't want any self-incrimination. So let's be mindful of that. All right, now we do the game, right? Okay. So to break the ice a little bit, we want to play a little bit of a game, and it is called the name game. So the task of the game is to find an adjective that starts with the first letter of your name. So my name is Ebony. The adjective that I will use is elegant ebony, and it comes with emotion. So everyone will have the opportunity to come up to the microphone, introduce your name and your adjective, and the rest of the circle will repeat right after. So can we try that one time? I will say elegant ebony and everybody follow. Ready? Elegant ebony. Thank you. And now I'm going to pass it on. Chief Madry, would you like to be the first person up? Uh-oh.
1, 2. Jay. All right. Jazzy Jeff, but not from Philly. Y'all know, y'all get that, right? My older ones, you get it?
We got to repeat after. Say it one more time.
Jazzy Jeff.
But not from Philly. That's the whole line. Jazzy Jeff, but not from Philly.
You can go ahead. Here. You can step up to the mic, yeah.
Or can I use this one? All right. Mindful Marco.
Mindful Marco.
Love that. Mindful Marco.
Okay. My name is Amira. Amazing Amira.
Amazing Amira. Make sure you get the motion in there too.
Keep it moving though.
Radiant Rahima.
Radiant Rahima.
Joyful Janaya.
Joyful Janaya.
Adventurous Elias.
Adventurous Elias.
Justifiable James.
Justifiable James.
I really don't know. My name starts with a D, but
Excited. Are you excited right now?
yeah, I'm excited about
There you
that.
go.
But no, I don't really know.
Say it with your name one more time.
Demetrius. My name is Demetrius. Demetrius. Harris.
Oh, a D. My bad. Debonair.
Divine Demetrius.
Divine Demetrius.
My name is Raheem. So Random Ra.
Random Ra.
My name is Bryce, Brilliant Bryce.
Say it one more time.
Brilliant Bryce.
Brilliant Bryce.
All right.
Wise Kibo.
Wise Kibo. That's not a W, but that works. It's okay.
My name is Cherno Jalo.
What's your adjective, Cherno?
Quiet.
Quiet Cherno.
My name is Cicely, Caring Cicely. It starts with a C.
Caring Cicely.
Caring Sicily.
My name is Shatik, Super Shatik.
Super Shatik.
How you doing? My name is Elias. Enthusiastic Elias.
Enthusiastic Elias. Come on, join in with me, fam.
Hello, my name is Brian, Brilliant Brian.
Brilliant Brian.
My name is Elijah, Extra Elijah.
Haha, extra Elijah.
My name is Malik, Marvelous Malik.
My name is Shalani, but with the C, so cheerful Shalani.
Cheerful.
My name is Dante, Delightful Dante.
All right.
Delightful Dante.
My name is Billy, Friendly Billy.
Friendly Billy. Right?
My name is Larry, and I'm Lavish Larry.
Lavish Larry.
Lavish Larry.
Peace. My name is Fu Quan for Fabulous Fool.
Oh, fabulous food.
Fabulous.
My name is Frank, Fast Frank.
Fast Frank.
All right.
My name is Benny, the choosing one.
The choosy one. All right, Ben.
My name is Tyler, Thankful Tyler.
Thankful Tyler.
My name is Athena, Advocating Athena.
All right.
My name is James, Joyful James.
My name is Brian, Balanced Brian.
I know I was doing everybody else's. My name is Aisha, and I'll say intelligent Aisha. Okay?
Intelligent Aisha.
I was going to say intelligent Aisha if you didn't. It's all true. You didn't do your motion, though, so I'm going to show
Yes,
you.
thank
Okay?
you, Mr.
My name is
Mayor.
Bill, Bold Bill.
Hey,
Okay.
bold Bill. Thank you, thank you, thank you. That was just a fun little icebreaker so we can all be comfortable in the space. I wish I had a chair to stand in a circle with y'all. So the three topics of discussion today will be policing, education, and violence. So first, we're gonna focus on policing. This is an issue, and I'm gonna let y'all speak. So if anyone has an issue or concern involving policing, you can stand and take the mic. Well, first raise your hand, and then we'll allow you to come take the mic.
And just for the purpose of discussion, I'd like to just review again our way of being in this space. So one, there's respect for each other. We have to listen with respect. One person speaks at a time. I just want to remind people we don't use negative language. That's our way of being at Street Corner Resources. So there's no degrading anyone, even if you disagree. And there's no N word, no B word, no H word, none of that. So somebody say, we got that.
We got that.
We got that.
We got that.
Okay, so it's mad respect, okay? And then, of course, we want to say stay open to new perspectives and stay present and off your phone. Stay present and off your phone. That's important because it means that you're listening. And social distancing, mask up, and of course, you can raise general concerns. You always want to be respectful in raising that concern. And I want to remind the adults that this is the voice of the youth, okay? So somebody say, I got that.
I got that.
Okay, good.
At this time, if anyone would like to raise a concern about policing, you have the opportunity to do so. Do I have a hand? Okay, well, we have a bowl.
So, yeah, good. Let them know that we have a bowl, Ebony, and what it is.
We also have a list of questions right here that were written in for people who are not present to be able to ask questions and also guide the discussion. Can I have a volunteer to read a question? Oh, do you have a concern that you'd like to raise your own? You can step up to any mic. Yeah, thank you.
My name's Kibo. I represent SAVE as a participant, but I guess a question would be, what is your plans to help, prevent police brutality within Black and brown communities?
And who's that question for? The mayor or Chief Magistrate?
The chief.
Yes. Sir? Well, yeah, thank you, man. First, thank you for asking a great question, all right? I just took over the role of the Chief of Community Affairs. This is my 3rd week. So before that, I worked in Brooklyn. I was the Chief of Brooklyn for about 5.5 years. And the biggest thing that I found out that I needed to do in Brooklyn, in my communities, was not only talk to the young people, because you see how we're doing this here today? I had to constantly talk to my officers, and I've always preached respect. And I used to go to the precinct and tell the officers, listen, you respect the people in my community. This is my community, respect the people. But then I would go to the street corners and tell the young brothers and sisters like you, I just told my officers to respect you, you have to respect them. So for me, the plan is really about teaching. All right, it's about teaching, about making sure I'm constantly being very intentional, having the conversations with the officers, having the conversations with the young people. Does it always work? Absolutely not. And when it doesn't work, then we have to deal with those officers appropriately. But for me, I have to constantly be in precincts. I have to constantly make sure that I'm giving the right message out, and I make sure I give it to you. And also, I have to find ways to bring police and community together. I think I was pretty successful in Brooklyn at doing that. And now I'm gonna try and bring that up here to Harlem, the Bronx, places in Queens and Staten Island. So we're gonna take that, show on the road, try and build these relationships. And once we start doing that, things start getting better.
Thank you.
Okay?
Thank you. So I just want to let everybody know the topic of discussion, it is an open discussion, so it's not necessarily questioning, but you can feel free to step up and offer your experiences and thoughts and conversations that you've had with each other. This is that time to do so. So Frank, I believe Frank would like to take the mic now.
Sorry, I'm a little bit shy. Okay. I had a bad experience with an officer. I had a bad experience with an officer because I guess I got pulled over and he had his hand on his gun. And I asked him, can you please take your hand off your gun repeatedly, because I felt unsafe. Because he just came up to the car with his hand on the gun without no type of reason for having his hand on the gun. And I'm like asking him repeatedly because I feel very unsafe. And he's not taking his hand off his gun. And I'm just looking at him and he looking at me, and so I called Sister Aisha because I felt very unsafe. Because I felt like, he could do anything. He could just be like he doing something and just shoot me out of nowhere. So that's how I felt. So,
and tell us a little more about it. When was this and where was this?
I don't remember the time or the day, but it was like during when COVID first started. So.
And where? Where was it?
It was in Brooklyn.
And when you said to the officer, could you take your hand off your gun, what was the response?
He said no.
And then what did he say about why he was pulling you over?
He said because the windows was tinted.
He said what?
The windows was tinted. But you could see right through the windows though. But I'm asking him why you got your hand on your gun still. The window, all the windows down and everything, my hands up. Why you still got your hand on your gun?
And what happened next?
After that, because I was on the phone with Miss Aisha, I gave the phone to the officer because it was a black officer there too. I gave the phone to the black officer and Miss Aisha talked to him, and then I guess he took the phone and went to the car, and after that, after Miss Aisha talked to him, he let us go.
So can I say something? If I notice, I need permission from them to add. Okay, so I just want to add, do I have your permission?
Yes,
to add
ma'am, you
something?
do.
Thank you. So, and this happens often, Chief Madry and Mayor de Blasio. So young people that I encounter, my numbers on speed dial on their phone, and other staff members have their numbers on our young people's phones. For this reason, because oftentimes they're fearful and they are not sure how to respond, and they really feel like in that moment they're not being treated fairly, and they feel like something's going to happen. And so we kind of train them to make the phone call and put your phone on FaceTime immediately or on video. So in that case, and that wasn't the only time, I happened to be able to speak to the officer. It was an officer in the Bronx, if I'm correct, right? And I had him say what precinct, I saw his badge name, and I repeated his name back to him. Because I repeated his name back to him, and I mentioned the commander at that particular precinct, and of course the commissioner, and I said, we do work to create better community policing, then things went a little softer. And then he saw that their license was good, everything was okay, and he let them go. I think the fearful part for Frank was the hand on the gun made him call me, because they knew that they were okay with drive-in other than the tinted windows or what have you. And so are you wanting to ask or create something easier than the cop having the hand on the gun? What would that be like? Stand up, Frank. What would you have wanted that experience to be like if he had to stop you? Use the microphone.
I'd rather he came up to the car and just not even had his hand on his gun and asked us, why is the window so dark, or can you change it, or something like that, and just go to the car, give us a ticket, and go back, instead of have your hand on your gun and looking at, they could have just did a 1-2, not a just make.
And just one more before the chief. So what did it feel like in that moment? How vulnerable did you feel in that moment?
I felt real horrible because I felt like his intentions was very bad, because the way he was looking at me, and he just wouldn't let go of his gun. I told him, take your hand off your gun. So I just felt very threatened, he could just pull out his gun and shoot me and say I did anything at any moment.
Chief.
Yes, please. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. You know what? And I did this yesterday up in the Bronx. But I've been doing this for years, talking to young people in the community. And the biggest complaint I've always gotten from young people in the community is the approach. Most of the young people tell me they're not even upset that they were stopped, or they were more upset at the approach. And that's something, in all these things that I'm doing, I'll be taking back to the police commissioner, talking about how we can improve things. But this was the same conversation I had in the Bronx yesterday. And it wasn't even that the officer had his hand on his gun, but it was just the approach again, just the choice of words, the language, the body language. So I understand exactly what you're saying, because it just happened, all right? we have to do a better job in making sure our approach is one that, it's never going to be a good thing when you're stopped by the police. You're always going to feel a little something, but you shouldn't feel that fear. And that's something, again, I have to take back to the department, to the boss, and make sure we start getting better at. You hear me? Okay? And you speak up when you stand up to talk, all right? No one's going to listen to you. You get up and you, all right? All right, we're going to work on that.
Thank you for sharing. Does anybody else have a similar experience or anything? Thank you. Just remember to speak into the mic and be mindful of blowing.
Y'all can hear me?
Yeah.
Thank you. My name is Demetrius Harris. I'm a participant for SAVE. I was just hearing his. It's like a question for officers. Do they train different because scenarios like that now? Like, do you have certain officers that know when to hold their gun, when to approach situation the right way? Do trainings become different, or y'all just keep it the same?
In terms of training, we don't train that you necessarily walk up to a car with your gun, not unless you believe it's something like a dangerous situation, like maybe a shooting happened around the corner, you believe you may have the car that was involved, and that's different. But just a regular, everyday car stop, I'm stopping you for tinted windows, no. That we don't train like that. If it's a felony crime suspected or something like that, yes. Tinted windows, no.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone else have an issue or an experience that they would like to share? Elias? Thank you.
How you doing? This question is for Chief Madry. It's not really an issue. I just wanted to hear your opinion about the encounters, the fatal encounters that people have with police officers. And I was proposing a solution in which in each precinct or each district, there should be a squadron of officers that are tactically trained with non-lethal forms of defense to subdue suspects, right? And I was thinking, how would you go about making sure that these officers were tactically trained and had all the required necessities to subdue a subject or an individual without fatally taking their life?
Right. That's a good question, and I don't think I have the complete answer. But so we have to discuss a couple of things. If a police officer encountered someone who's armed, who's pointing a gun, you understand that's a different set of rules, and it's going to require different engagement. Right. When you're talking about an unarmed person, I agree that, and I don't know if we can put together a tactical team. It could be done. I'm not saying it can't. But I think, again, the NYPD, any department, you have to train. And it's not easy training every day when you're a police department in a big city. The level of training you're talking about is basically going to MMA school on a regular basis to do those things. But we do tactical training. All right, there's the techniques that we're taught to subdue arms and stuff that bring people down. We do some training. They're making some modifications to the training as we speak. A tactical team, a lot of times you'll have two police officers in a car and they'll get waved down and stuff. You won't have time to get a team. So that's where the challenge comes, because it's not that we know in advance and we're going there in advance. A lot of times it's just you're in the street and someone's waving you down. Next thing you know, you're wrestling with somebody because there was a fight already or something like that. Right. Understand?
Let me add to that, though, because I think to the question, it's a very, very important question, that the goal is to use the minimum force. So one thing, look, today we're gathered on a very important, somber anniversary, 6 years since the death of Eric Garner. Right after that death, the commissioner at the time, Bill Bratton, determined to retrain the entire police force. So think about for a moment retraining over 30,000 people, going back to the fundamentals, but with a message of de-escalation. Teaching tactics that were about the minimum use of force, not the maximum use of force, the maximum dialogue rather than the maximum physicality. That is not perfect by any stretch. But what we have seen is, with more and more training, constantly reminding officers and giving them new tools, it moves away from the physical confrontation. So we've seen much less use of weaponry, for example, over the years because of that training. We got to keep going deeper with that because we have to constantly figure out what is the way to keep people safe with the least confrontation, least physicality, most dialogue. And the point that was made earlier, if you feel, an example you gave, which was very painful to hear, that you're immediately treated in a way that is not respectful or that is distrustful, that's not going to help move us forward. So part of the training has to keep advancing on how officers can present respect and understanding. And Chief Madry's right, sometimes you're in the middle of a very urgent, dangerous situation, that's different. That you got to deal with in a different way. But on something like a car stop or the encounters that anyone has on the street, we got to keep moving the police department towards a position of respectful dialogue because we're still not where we need to be. Thank you.
Thank you. And I love that the conversation is shifting towards solutions because that's exactly where now we would like to open it up to talk about what we can do about these policing issues. Maybe another solution or potential offer. Yes, please. Thank you.
Anybody can, the mayor or the chief can answer this. Do you think maybe defunding the police and having the communities police themselves would be a better idea then?
Well, I'll start. I know my colleagues might have views also who are elected officials. What we did was we took money that was supposed to be for the police and we moved it into youth programs. We moved it into summer youth employment, community centers. We took money that was going to be building facilities for police usage and we put it into building recreation centers. That, I'm convinced, was the right thing to do and will make an impact because I think one of the things I always hear is that younger people want many more positive options in their lives and many more places they can be that they know are safe and supportive. Yeah. So that, I think, was right. To your bigger question, can you have the absence of police? I don't think today in a society as it is that is a realistic option. I want to be straightforward with you.
Okay.
I think we can keep changing how we police. And is it something we should aspire to say we create a more and more peaceful society with every passing year, and if we really get good at it, we can reconceptualize a lot of things? That's right, I agree with that. Let's aspire. Okay. But in the short term, what I think it is about changing the culture of policing, changing the attitude of policing. I appreciate people who protect us, but what I hear all over the city is people want that protection, but they want respect that they often don't feel they get.
Okay.
So I want to see if we can do more of what we have to begin.
Now, most of the problems, they happen during the daytime, but this is a 24-hour thing. This is some certain programs don't stay open all times of the hours. So what happens after when these programs are closed? What do we do then?
Well, can I just say that's something that we can discuss as well. Does anyone else have, please step up to the mic.
I'm Janaya. So I just want to say, I feel like the problem between everything is that the police aren't involved in the community as much as they should be, and we don't know them. I'm not speaking to you if I don't know you. And I think that if we was to be able to bring the police and our community together, things would go so much smoother. If you build that trust with somebody or with a police officer or with whoever in your community, it's 9 times out of 10, I'm gonna trust you more to be around you than to be around a stranger that I don't know. So my question is, what are some things that you guys think will be, I guess, for them to be able to be in the community more, to make them known, like their faces known, so we know, like I know this is officer this and this is officer that, because with them not knowing us and with us not knowing them, I seen the difference between a cop knowing a young adult and how they reacted to them, opposed to a cop not knowing a young adult and how they reacted to them. Because if I know a certain cop, my response is totally different than if I don't know who you are. You might be coming off with good intentions, but your delivery is wrong. But if I know you, I know that you feel me? So I feel like the best solution would be, how can we get the police into our community more often to build those relationships with us so that we can build that trust with you, so that, you know, when you come to our community, we know he ain't gonna pull a gun at me. He's not walking up to my car with the gun in my thing, because he already know my car. He know this is my car, and I might be a little sketchy, but, you know, I feel like I know that person, so I don't have to walk up with my hand on the gun. So I feel like that's the main thing, building that trust, building that community again. It should be one community, not the blue community and our community.
Thank you for sharing.
That is wonderful. I want to speak to both the comments because I think they're both pointing us in the right direction. The point about having more spaces, more hours of the day for young people, positive, constructive spaces. We are making some progress, but obviously everything's gotten thrown off by the coronavirus. But what I think we need to aspire to as a city is that there's always a place for a young person to go, even late into the night, weekends, always. It's going to take a lot of work, but I think that would make a huge difference, because your question is right. Where does someone go when the program closes, and how can we change that conception? But to the point about the relationship with a police officer, so neighborhood policing, one of the most central concepts of this strategy has been put in recent years, is keep a police officer in the community, do not move them around constantly. It used to be this very, I think, mistaken policy that a lot of officers would only be in a neighborhood for a short period of time before they're moved somewhere else, or they come in to deal with one issue and then they go somewhere else, and there was no relationship. I think what you said was really powerful. If you know someone, it's a whole different discussion. So neighborhood policing is built on the concept that officers should be devoted to the same part of the neighborhood long term, told to go out and build those relationships. Young people, parents, people who own the stores in the neighborhood, the teachers, whoever it may be, clergy. And then that spreads trust and dialogue. And a lot of these officers under neighborhood policing have started to give people their cell phone number, their email, and say, if you see something or if you have a concern, come to me. And then that builds more trust. But I think you're saying one of the most essential things, which is when someone knows another human being. You're right. So I met you today. I'm going to think differently about you. You're going to think differently about me because we actually met each other. And from that point on, you know, you're always going to say, oh, wait, I know that person. And it gives more sense of trust and openness to a real dialogue. So that's what we're literally trying to teach officers, is what we need more of from their time and energy, is building those personal relationships. Please.
Traveling, like, I live by the 23rd precinct. We'll have people from the 25th precinct. Or how can we stop that? Like, what can y'all do on y'all part to make sure that there isn't a mix within the 23rd and all of these other people coming to one community? If we have a precinct in my community, why can't the people from my precinct in my community come? Why does the 34th precinct or other people? So how can we enforce to have more of those people so that we won't have to call out for other communities, for other people to come to our community? I live on 101st and 3rd Avenue in Washington Projects.
Let me ask you a question. Do you know your neighborhood coordination officer?
Actually, I don't.
Okay, see, and the mayor was right. We've changed our philosophy in the police department a few years ago to a neighborhood-based model where the officers are supposed to be in the same place, patrol the same place on a regular basis. But since I've been in this role and I've been going around talking to people, especially in the developments, because you're in somewhat of a confined space. The officer goes there and walking the same 3 or 4 blocks. And I'm starting to hear this answer more and more. So it's definitely something that has to be addressed. It has to be addressed on my end with the police commissioner in terms of what I'm seeing and what I'm not seeing with our neighborhood coordination officers. And you're 100% right. The officers are assigned there. They're supposed to be there. They're supposed to be walking through that development, speaking to everybody, getting to know everybody. If you saw that same officer 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, a week, you're gonna say, I'm gonna talk to that officer. I've been seeing him every day. And he or she is gonna say the same thing. So it's something that we definitely have to fix. That's something that we have to fix. That's something I have to address with the boss, and then we're gonna have to bring it back down to the cops. But before you leave, we're gonna exchange information because you're gonna know your NCO probably before the week's over.
No problem.
Okay?
That's no
Great,
problem.
thank you.
So I'm gonna make a,
Brian, before you do, I want to make sure that we are having a complete conversation. That is not just the people on this end, not just street corner resources. We have SAVE in the building. We have some other folks here that are part of this conversation. This is not, and I'm sorry, Ebony, but thank you for giving me permission. This is an opportunity for all of the conversations that some of us have had about policing. This is an opportunity to speak to the people who can make a difference. Don't sit in here like you don't have a concern and like you didn't have an experience, because I talked to many of you with situations that you had. And so when I told the mayor, look, I want you to come and talk with our kids about policing and other issues, and he said, okay, and that's why this is set up. So this doesn't have to look as, packaged and with a bow tied on it, because that's not what the bad policing looks like. So I want you to use your voice. You can tell your story and tell what you expect to happen. What's the experience you expected to have that you should have? But if you sit here and let this moment go by, you don't have voice in this. You follow me? You hear me, Nesta? You hear me, Peter? Right, okay. Let's go. Come on.
Since she said my name already, how y'all doing?
And then, you good, Brian? You go first. Okay.
How y'all doing? My name is Nesta. First thing I would like to say is what I see as a problem with policing is, but first and foremost, I'm 25. I may look young. I'm 25 years old. I've been through a lot. I just came home. I just did 5 years. So I've been in multiple situations with policing, and I had to basically deal with 5 years of policing, basically. They're not police officers, but they are COs, so we call them police in there. So basically, I have dealt with multiple situations with that. And what I see from ways is a form of respect. What I grew up on was to get respect, you must give respect. So a lot of situations where I've dealt with was I felt like when I was being spoke to, I was being belittled or I was being disrespected. So me, I know the type of person I am. I know my attitude. I'm the type of person where the energy you give me is the energy I'm gonna give you back. So if you come with me rowdy or raw, I'm gonna give you that energy back. But if you come with me with respect and respectfully, that's how I'm gonna talk to you back. So that's basically that's one of my problems. So another problem is judging this book by its cover. I've seen a lot of videos where police officers are stopping people in neighborhoods because they felt like they don't look like they belong in the neighborhood. That's basically judging the book by its cover. So that's another problem where that I feel like we need to work on. That could be helped. It's really a lot more. So if I could just speak on that for right now until my mind's racing right now. I'm really nervous. So.
Yeah, please, thank you. Again, and I said it earlier, and again, you're right. Respect breeds respect. And us, myself, the NYPD, we're the ones responsible to start that way. It's up to us to initiate that conversation in a respectful manner. When we're not doing it, we are wrong, period. We're wrong. I agree with you 100%. And again, something that I'm going to be bringing back to the commissioner talking about my experiences and the young people I've been talking to and the community I've been talking to, some of the things where we're having challenges and we have to get better. So you're absolutely right. We're the ones that have to say hello first. We're the ones that should be sticking our hands out first. We're the ones that should be giving the right energy first. So I can't even defend it, all right? But that's the thing. I'm going to take it back, make sure we put this out, and make sure our officers understand that this is why we're losing out here. It's because we're just losing these little interactions. Interactions we should win. I should come talk to you, have a conversation, blah, blah, and we're gone, right?
Right.
We're losing that. We're losing that. And that's part of my job here to fix it.
I also want to, I don't want to be biased in this situation too. So I would like to speak on it to the community also, because I've been in situations where I've been stopped or pulled over. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I just got pulled over yesterday, and the situation went. It went great. And nothing bad would happen because of how me and my brother handled the situation. So some people might get pulled over and off instant they're upset because they just got pulled over. So now your energy is just, you mad, you're upset. So now you're talking to him, talking to the officer with a lot of aggression that you don't really need to be, just ask him what did he pull you over for. They ask you questions, it's a lot of things that, they do their job. They're not gonna sit here and act like they don't do their job the right way. There's some officers that don't do their job the right way, but there are also officers that do their job the right way. So if you get pulled over, or if you get stopped, or if they ask you questions, just don't just get them attitude or just be aggressive to them, because they're just doing their job. At the end of the day, they have a job, They get paid they have a 9 to 5. This is what they get paid to do. So you have to also keep in mind that this is what they do for their living. This is what pays them. And this is their career, not just a job where this is their career. Like, this is what they do for life. Like, this is 25 years.
22.
22, son. This is something like they do for a living.
In some cases, 30.
We can't be biased to the situation. We also have to look at our wrongs too. So
I appreciate that, young man. So we have to look at both sides.
All right, so I'll be brief because I want to do more listening, but I want to pick up on Janae's point, Mr. Mayor, and I want to talk about the defund the police right after that real quick. She raised a really good point, right? If you look at me as a state senator and Gail Brewer as the borough president, we have a liaison to your office who's our relationship manager, right? That's who we deal with to help us navigate your organization. It is logical to assume if it's the NCOs who are that person for our community, we have to hold them accountable to building these relationships. We should not be coming to a forum like this and hearing that Janae doesn't know who our NCO is. So how are we holding them accountable for making sure that the community knows who they are, so that when a situation happens, they should be the first point of contact, or at the worst, they know what's going on so they can tell whoever's shown up to the scene for whatever situation is, oh, by the way, here's the block, here's in charge. That kind of thing, we have got to have that in the process. So I think for us, Gail, we have to make sure that we're holding you accountable to holding that accountable. And Mr. Mayor, we're going to keep talking about that. So thank you for bringing that up. I want to make a quick point on this defund NYPD piece, because one of the things that has happened in this conversation, and I'm not in the city council, I wasn't part of your negotiations, is that part of what was left out of this whole conversation was, if you defund the NYPD, then what happens? So someone says, okay, well, let's have the community do it. Okay, well, what does that look like? Are you going to give people guns? Are you going to walk? Is it going to be lethal, non-lethal? What does that look like? And I think before we can have a real thorough conversation about take the money from here to NYPD, we got to first talk about what do we want policing to look like, whether it's community or NYPD. It doesn't matter whether it's Chief Madry or it's Aisha Sekou. Someone has to be responsible for public safety. What does that look like? There's some things that I would tell you I don't think the police should be doing. You might think the same thing. We should lay all that out and have a real conversation about what public safety, because it's really public safety. What does public safety look like, and who should be doing what? And I think that's a better way to approach the conversation. And I'm not saying that to you, I'm just saying that in general. That's a better way to approach the conversation, because at the end of the day, I have a wife and a daughter, and I am not going to allow anyone to create an unsafe environment for my wife and my daughter. So if we're going to talk about doing something different, we need to lay that out specifically. We need to talk about who's doing what are we talking about. But I think that's a conversation that we as a community, Aisha, this is a conversation that we should have. You are more impacted in this room by interactions with the police and public safety than I am and that anyone else is. So what do we all think? I think we should have that conversation, and we should really just take out a piece of paper, go through all the things that are included, what do we want to look like, and then we should bring that to the mayor and to the chief and say, listen, this is what we think should happen. But I think we should do it that way, not necessarily from a hashtag slogan, and I'm not saying you're doing that, but sometimes I've heard this, it's been more hashtag slogan, people on Twitter. We've got to be serious, because we live in a real world where we have real problems, and Aisha's not here by accident. There's real stuff going on. And you're not here by accident. There's real stuff going on. So let's have that conversation, maybe not with the mayor, but we need to have that conversation.
Well, that's what this is about. So I'm really hoping with all of the young people and young minds and experiences that you have witnessed, your eyes have seen, that you have had yourself, that you bring that into this room right now. And what policing should look like is what you should be talking about right now. That's why we're here. Somebody say that's why we're here. Right, so don't waste this time. So Ebony, when you finish with Peter, I want you to move on that side so that we make sure that everybody has an opportunity to have their voice in. And okay, good. That's what I want. Because there's no wrong in this room. I want to give you permission, if that's what you need, to express yourself. And you can share your story, and some of it may be painful, and that's okay. It's okay. We have a counselor here. We will see you through that, because it needs to be heard, because healing won't happen without you sharing and telling your truth. And holding the people who can make change accountable. That's why they're here. Am I right, Mayor? Am I right, Brother Madry?
Can I add one more thing onto that?
That's right. Okay, so I know Peter wanted to...
Growing up, I never seen a 3-star chief in a room. I'm one of the highest people in NYPD. Bring it. Bring it. Take your swings. Bring it. Don't hold back. Bring it. I'm here to be accountable to you. Bring it.
Thank you.
How about that? You understand that language?
Yeah, bring it. Thank you. Peter?
My name is Peter. My name is Peter, and I just want to share this experience with Chief, this chief right here, this brother right here. I never really shared this with nobody, because I don't really like talking about it, but I'm gonna just share this experience. I was 14. It was like 9:45, around 10 o'clock at night, so it was late at night. It was a school night, and I was coming from the projects that I live next to, in my neighborhood. I just came from running around the neighborhood, playing with my friends, doing dumb stuff. We wasn't doing nothing crazy. We was just playing manhunt, freeze tag, and all that. We was kids. We was being regular 13, 14-year-olds. So then my mom had called me to come home, because she was on her way home. She wanted me to be home upstairs by a certain time. So I'm walking in a dark street. I'm walking by myself, and for my age, I was tall, so I actually looked older than I was. So, and my mother always told me about my appearance. So my appearance helps a lot. So when I was outside, what I had on, I had on a sweatsuit, my pants were sagging, I had on some Jordans and some sneakers. So I looked like, a quote-unquote thug. And then it was these two white men. They was undercover cops. And they had pulled up, and they stopped me. One of them in the driver's seat told me, come here. I'm looking at him like, I know you? And then he's like, come here. And I'm like, no, I don't know you. At that time, I didn't even know he was a plainclothes. I thought he was a regular person. I thought there was two regular dudes. So I keep walking. Then they start backing up, like, mad fast. I'm like, yo, what's your vibe? Like, what y'all trying to do? And then that's when they all jumped out. Both of them jumped out. They both had guns. Like, from that second, I saw the one in the passenger seat took out his gun. I thought he was about to point it at me, so I turned around and ran. So at that moment, that's when I knew, yeah, I should join a track team or something. So, yeah, so I ran, and then, like, yeah, I ran dumb fast. I ran like a block and a half, and then I tripped on, like, my front foot, and I fell, like, on a tree. And then that's when I turned around, and one of them was coming up to me, and they had a gun pointed at me. Then they grabbed me. They put their gun back, and yeah. And then they grabbed me, and they took me. They put me in handcuffs, and they threw me on the gate, and they started asking me, like, dumb questions. They started, like touching on me, trying to, they was, like, touching me weird. And then I'm telling them, I'm 14. I told them my name. I live in this building right here. And that was it. And then, how I felt, being that I was a kid, like, as soon as they left and I went upstairs, I started crying. And, like, I felt like when I was running, I felt my life was gonna end right there at 14. But I guess they didn't do nothing. So I felt like I was scared. I didn't want to come outside anymore. And I'm gonna just be honest with everybody in here. That's the main reason why I don't like cops now. I'm not saying, like being a cop is bad or all cops is bad, but from that experience, with plainclothes cops and cops in general, that's why, like, I don't really, I'm not a fan of cops. So, well, I felt the way that situation could have went differently. If they was plainclothes, for whatever reason they stopped me, if they felt I was a drug dealer or anything, they could have came out their car, like, they could have said stop. They pulled out their badge and told me that they was they was undercover, and if they wanted to search me, they could have. But they didn't do that. They just stopped me as if I'm thinking they like kidnappers or something, or like yo, what you stopping me for? I don't even know you. So, and then they just jump out their car out of nowhere with guns. They ain't even. I'm thinking yeah. So then I start running. Then they come up to me with their guns pointed, talking about put your hands on your head. And one of them pulled out their badge, and then that's what they did. They threw me on the gate, and they did what they did.
Thank you for sharing. Does anybody else have another?
Can I speak to that for a second?
Oh, yes, of course.
Yeah, no,
Thank
it's
you.
just so painful. Tell me your first name again.
My name is Peter.
Peter?
Yeah.
Peter, I'm sorry that happened to you. I just want to say that.
It's okay.
No, I mean, thank you for saying that, but it's not okay. It should never happen to anybody. And I really appreciate your honesty, and it takes courage to tell a story like that. And, for every one of us, if you're, a human being listening to a story like that, it's painful to hear that you had to go through that. And as a parent, it's painful for me, thinking that any good young man would possibly have to end up feeling what you're feeling, because you just said something very honest, and I admire you for it, that you felt something after that you couldn't make go away. And your life you felt threatened. But then you still were able to say you're not assuming that's every cop. I mean, that takes a lot of heart to not hold an experience like that against everybody. But that shouldn't happen, because what you just described, I mean, they should have communicated with you. You should not have had to wonder who they were or what the intention was, especially at the age of 14. So that is the kind of thing we have to fix. and not everything can be fixed in life so easily. But that, just when I hear that story, it makes me angry that you experienced that, because why should that have happened to you? You know, why should you be left with that pain and that fear? That's not what we came here to do, you know? That's not what anyone should ever do, especially to a young person. So I just want to say I'm very sorry that happened, and I appreciate you being a part of this, trying to make it better for other people.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Peter, was that your first encounter ever with the police? You were pretty young when that happened.
Yeah, that was my first encounter.
Yeah, so. like I said, it's
They
just-
thought like, they was like searching me, and then when they walked away, one of them said, "Stay off the streets. Don't." They said something. One of them said something sarcastic or something. They was like, "Stay off the streets. Don't sell drugs." And then I just went upstairs.
Yeah, no. And just like the mayor said, that shouldn't have happened to you. We train differently. But sometimes the training gets lost when the guys are out there. But it's something that, again, we have to work on. All right?
All right.
We have a voice. Hello, hello. Hello, hello, hello. This one is.
Hi. So I think it's been clear that a big part of how to create change is acceptance and changing the conversation and the perceived notion of each different group. Because there's a lot of people want integration, people want a bigger community rather than two separate groups. But rather than it being one group make the effort, it has to be joined. And so I say this to mean that the community asks a lot of the police. They ask that you do your job correctly, and it's an expectation because that is your career. But also, us as a community has to do better as well. We can't put ourselves into situations where we fit the description, quote unquote. We can't put ourselves in situations where we might make the wrong person angry, make someone scared. Because for a police officer, I feel like the biggest part of this conversation is understanding both sides and getting both perspectives. Because as I'm sitting there and I'm listening, the chief, you're doing a great job of explaining the police officer's perspective of where you're coming from. Respect for respect. But I think what a lot of people misunderstand is that in order to respect someone, you have to also give them yourself. You also have to understand that you can't fight them on their job. Police officers go out every single day thinking, I can encounter the next mass murderer, and that could be it. Like Senator Brian Benjamin said, you have a wife and a daughter. You can't expect to call the police one day and you hear your wife or your daughter is in trouble. That puts you in a different situation. So I think my real question is, what do you expect of the community? What do you want to see from your community in integrating police into their communities and accepting each other and having that conversation?
Can I ask you that question? What do you want to see?
Yeah.
Well, for me personally, I expect more of this, but additionally, I expect more plainclothes conversations, where instead of it being, it has to be specific, like cops on one side, kids on another. Talk to me as a human being. Don't talk to me from your position, talk to me as a person. Because for me to understand you as an officer, I have to first understand you as a person and respect you as a person. Because there's obviously that perceived notion in communities of, we don't trust the police, we don't like the police. So in that case, if I see you approach me in a uniform or want to have that conversation, all well-intentioned regardless, it gives me that image in my head that doesn't trust, that isn't open. So I feel like there has to be a lot more, just more casual conversation, more one-on-one, more regular person to regular person conversation. But also, yeah, what do you, and anyone up there, whether it's Gail Brewer, whether it's Ryan Benjamin, anyone, the mayor, anyone can answer this. So what do you guys expect of the community to further that conversation?
Well, I love that question. I appreciate it. And I agree with your, the way you just said, plain clothes. That's a good way of saying the word plain clothes. We think of it in one sense with police, but you said it in the human sense of people speaking to each other beyond uniform or what our role is supposed to be. So I think you're right on the track there of I think what we have to do, first of all, is create an environment, take that philosophy of neighborhood policing, make it real by giving every officer a chance to experience the community they're in, away from the mission, if you will. Not just you're supposed to be responding to a job or a situation, but just sit and talk with people. Spend time, whether it's a group like this, or at a diner, or going to a church service, or whatever it is that gives people opportunity just to have a dialogue and start to see each other as humans. I think you're exactly on the right track there. But to your question about what can communities do on their piece of the equation, I think what we're finding with neighborhood policing is it begins with someone just starting a conversation, even in the smallest ways. I mean, one of the things I want to see officers do more, and this may sound kind of cheesy, but I believe it, is just saying good morning to people, just asking people how they are. Not only having communication when there's a conflict or a problem, but just starting a human conversation, like the point made earlier about knowing each other's name. I think community members can do that too. When an officer does something to help someone, that thank you goes a long way. When there's a problem, going and telling an officer, we want you to know about something that could help you do your job protecting all of us. Because that's what we find happens. It starts with just the basics of people starting to see some common humanity, and it grows into thinking together, and thinking together how to solve a problem. And then the officer wants to start listening to people's advice and perspective. And a lot of times the community members just say, here's something you could do that would work better. Because people need to find each other, and connect to each other on that level. But like if you and I are talking and I say, okay, tell me about something that you are concerned about, and you say, okay, this is what I want to see happen, and I tell you, well, how is that going to work, and what do we need to... People start to put their minds together, and then it feels like commonality. Right. So I think it's every time a community member reaches out to an officer in any way, even just good morning or thank you or how are you, it helps. And that again sounds real basic, but I believe it. But I want to see our officers do that much more with community members too. Show that small moment of kindness and respect.
Thank you. Oh, I'm going to go to Larry first, and I'm coming back. Let's just be mindful of everyone's time, so keep it quick, but take your time and be concise about it. Thank you.
Hello, you guys. My name is Larry Blackwell, and I would like to talk about the situation I had with the police. Last year around this time, I was coming home from school with a bunch of friends, and we are right near Yankee Stadium on 161st Street, and across the street is a McDonald's. So every day after school, usually on a Friday just like this, we'll go and hang out with each other and eat. And outside of McDonald's is a huge police van, and it's about 3-4 police officers in that van. And every day they'll see us, and one will come out, all right, guys, you need to move along. Even though we'll have everything, we'll have our something to eat, drink. He'll be okay, officer. And we'll lose track of time, and 2 or 3 will come out, and then they'll start harassing us. All right, guys, I told you to move. Now, they'll have their hands on their tasers or guns. They'll come across to us. We'll have our hands up. They'll say, oh, what are you guys doing? They'll start going through our bags, dumping everything out. And in that position, it made me scared, because I know after shaking the bags and everything, and even coming at the police wrong, next thing I know, they'll have their taser gun out and shoot one of us. And we were all dark brown or light brown kids, and we were all coming back from school. We had our vests on, our backpacks, our shoes, everything, and we were still being harassed. And in my head, I thought stop and frisk stopped. And once I seen this, I'm like, wow, is there really a change? Are we really making changes? If we're making bills and and laws, and police are going against the laws. So my question to the mayor as well as the chief is, what do you guys think officers should do in those situations to break up bigger groups of adults or children without using force or violence?
Let's both go. Look, I'm going to start, and Jeff, you should join in from your perspective, but I don't like hearing that at all. I'm glad you told me. When was this exactly?
This was last year around the same time.
Yeah, and look, I understand if a lot of young people coming out of a high school, for example, and officers don't want to see a big crowd of young people just hang out in front of the school. I understand that. And we all know sometimes very small number of kids, but maybe there's a beef between them or something, and that could be a combustible situation. So like, let everyone keep moving, that makes sense. But when you say you're going to McDonald's, you're obviously coming from school, you go to McDonald's, you're trying to sit down with your friends, that's really troubling to me if you're just trying to live your life and you're not being allowed to. And when you just said the point about stop and frisk, that's why we ended stop and frisk, because we had, you know what I heard all over the place with stories of kids going to school, coming from school, going to a job, coming from a job, doing everything they were supposed to be doing, and then being treated like there was something wrong with them, which to me meant that something was broken in our society, because it was devaluing you, let alone that you felt in danger. So that's not supposed to happen. Jeff, the chief may have some context he could give, but I can just tell you, when you say that, I say something's wrong with that style of policing, and I would want the precinct commander to know about that, because that's not supposed to happen to people who are just living their life. But I also want to say to everyone, we need, because we want accountability with police, I want everyone to feel, and Ebony, if you could lead the way going forward with this, when someone has one of these experiences, I want us to know it the same day, the next day, and work with the chief and his team, because we have to create accountability and change, and sometimes that's precinct by precinct and officer by officer. But I want people to feel empowered to bring forward that story so we can move immediately to address it, because some people need to be retrained on the police force and some people should not even be on the police force. And those examples tell us what we need to do to fix the situation. Chief, you want to add?
Yes. And you, young man, you too. Larry, right? Larry.
Yes.
What was your nickname? Was it Larry Love?
Yes.
No, just joking. Larry, I actually want to talk to you afterwards. I just want to get the information from you, because I can look back and see if there was any kind of calls, any kind of complaints and stuff. And I had to laugh because you said you and your friends with the McDonald's. Me and my friends with the McDonald's too every day after school, high school. That's just how it was. And I think most kids go there because when I was in Brooklyn, every McDonald's, there was kids there after school. But again, what it comes down to, and believe it or not, we do have complaints. People call, there's always kids there. The managers are calling sometimes. But again, it's about neighborhood policing. It's about the cops knowing, hey, we know the kids are there, we'll go there, we get to know the kids. Hey, Larry, where you live at? Where's your, mother, your father? All right, if I see you out here, I'm calling somebody. They learn who you are. They get to know who you are. And that's what we're supposed to be doing out here. This is the whole concept, the whole philosophy of neighborhood policing. And if there's kids who like to congregate at McDonald's, which happens in every neighborhood at every McDonald's, it's up to those officers to know the young people. And they can come there and just have a regular conversation. Hey, Larry, come on, the people are saying y'all are acting up, having too much fun. Come on, go on home now. Go do your homework and stuff. That's how the conversation is supposed to go. So again, these are the things I'm taking back with me. Before I leave here, I'm gonna give everybody my social media page. If you want my number, I'll give you my number if you want to continue to talk. I know I want to continue to talk. I want to continue this forum. We can do it somewhere. We can do it in the park, however you want to do it, because I need some more information. And the next time I come, I have to bring some of my officers from the precincts, because it's great that I hear it. I think they need to hear it too.
And excuse me, Chief.
Yes,
one thing I didn't get to mention was I told one of the officers my father is also a police officer. So I showed him he gives me a card with his name on it, and what precinct he works at, and he thought I was being slick, and he was like, oh, you think you're gonna get a pass just because of this? And he ripped it up in front of my face. So I didn't want, that scared me. I said, wow, he's one of you guys. I thought, we could reason about this, all right? You could call him, we'll leave.
Did you tell your dad?
Yes.
Okay. I'm pretty sure there was a follow-up on that, because I know it would have been one from me. You know?
I just want to let folks know and let Ebony know that our time is winding down, and so we're going to go here and here. And then we'll have to recap with what our takeaway is, because there's definitely some takeaway. I really appreciate everybody putting their stories in this room. So, Ebony, if it's okay that I'm just directing how you go, okay? And then we have an activity that we're going to do together, right? And you'll tell folks about that.
Yes.
And we have some food. Isn't that nice?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Hello, my name is Shalani, and I'm not going to say I've had many interactions with the police, because I haven't, but I feel like what we have going on right now is a very good thing, and it doesn't happen enough. And because people are already, there's already a disconnect between the communities and the police, so there's not many conversations about how to have positive interactions with the police. It's usually being told that, you should be aware of what you're wearing and how you're acting and who you're around, instead of say hello, say good morning, how are you doing? Like you said earlier, some people might think it's cheesy, but it's not a bad thing to be polite. And a lot of people don't think that it's really a good thing to be good to the police, but just like you feel like, you may feel like police aren't always nice, they might feel like civilians aren't always nice, and they may need that one person to say, how you doing? And that could make their day, you never know. And when I was younger, I had been to like 1 or 2 of those police community basketball games, and I know that's not going to be an easy thing to do right now because of Corona, but I feel like as we open up more and more, I feel like we should have more events like this, because it's like someone said earlier, there's not enough communication. So because no one's talking, we're not hearing each other, and we're not understanding each other, and I feel like especially with the youth, it's even harder to communicate, because as times change, technology and all this, so do the people change. So a lot of us don't really know how to talk to adults or to talk to authority. So that's another problem that we're having in the community, because not only are, things aren't always good at home, but things aren't always good in the neighborhood, and it's going to be even worse when it's time to speak to a police officer. So I just really want to stress that something like this needs to happen more often, where we can speak to the mayor or police or just anyone in power in general, because the badge and a gun is a lot of power for one person to hold. Now, whether they're a good person or a bad person, that has an effect on how they treat other people. And the abuse of that power happens a lot, especially in our communities. So again, there's distrust and there's not enough communication. Thank you for sharing. Now, I don't know if we have time for a response, but I know we got someone to speak over here.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you for sharing.
Thank you so much. I wanted to say, that definitely works. I come from a block where I live on 117th and 5th, and we have a lot of community parties and stuff like that. So we had a lot of an encounter with the police. They'll always come, you gotta shut this down. For years, that always happened. You gotta shut this down, you gotta shut this down. To the point where we knew the chief, the precinct that's supposed to patrol the area and everything. It got to the point when we threw the party, the community loves the block parties and stuff like that. There's no complaints, there's nothing. So now that we've been harassed by them for a long time. We harassed them too. We have encounter with them too. But it got to the point where it's all right, we know each other. We gonna come to an agreement. If y'all gonna do this, you're gonna be a certain limit to this, where this gonna be at, or y'all gonna have to shut it down at a certain time. Where in my community, we have a person that is ahead of everybody. He the only one that could talk to the police. That's in my block, in my area. He's the only one. There's a person that goes to the police and he talk to the police. So he's like my uncle. He tell everybody to back up and go to the gates, don't say nothing to the police. I'm the only one talking, respectfully to the police too. So when that encounter like that, the police would say, okay, he has somewhat of control of his neighborhood where the police don't have to put so much pressure on other people because it's controlled already. So it definitely worked when you know the police. So if the police could just come around our block, just stop by, we see him, it's like a heads up, like, oh, how you doing? And he just leave and stuff like that. So I feel like that definitely works. Just saying hi, or like the police is just here in our neighborhood, it definitely works because I experienced it. So that's all I wanted to say.
Thank you for your words.
Thank you for sharing. So a lot of what I'm hearing now is about communication and just general positivity and humanness within each other and with, oh, yes, of course, please.
It'll be my last statement, like on a dais, and then I'll talk to anybody afterwards. I want to bring these both, you don't have to come up, but just both of your statements, and I'm gonna just tie it right into his statement. You talked about, young man, you talked about what the expectation with the police to the community. And I'm glad you brought that out, because everything is two-way. Communication, respect, how we handle each other is very important. And then, young lady, you talked about, again, building a better relationship, more of an organic relationship out here in the streets, talking to each other, getting to know each other. But this young man kind of summed it up for me. They was having so many parties, the police finally joined them and just said, all right, well, we'll work with you, we'll talk with you. And that's what it comes down to. We have to have these engagements. They have to be positive, and then we need some leadership. Because on your side, you said there was your uncle there who was able to communicate with the police, and he was able to say, hey, you know what, the officer said if we do this, then, everything's good, right? That's what we need. We need to be able to have a communication, a two-way communication that's respectful. We have to break down these barriers. We have to get to know each other. We have to understand what each other wants. And when we understand each other, what each other wants, and we have some familiarity with each other, we know each other, then things turn out the way this young man said it. That's what we need to do in each of our communities. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be easy, but we have to do this block by block, where we can say, hey, these two officers come on our block, we know them, they come in our development, we know them, they know what we're doing. They kind of tell us, listen, here's the rules, you gotta do this, you gotta do that, and it works out. And everybody's cool, everybody's respectful. That's what we need to do, all right? That's exactly why I'm here, to try and get this off the ground. So I need y'all to all help me and partner with me and work with me on this one. Because I'm gonna do my part. All right, I'm gonna start going into your precincts. I'm gonna start talking to the officers. I'm gonna start bringing them to your blocks. You can't run from me when I bring them to your blocks. You gotta say, oh, that's the chief with the officers. We gotta step up. We gotta come out there and communicate. All right, so I'm telling you, this is what I plan to do. And I want you to hold me accountable. All right, but we have to fix this relationship because we can't withstand the amount of gunfire that's been going on in our community. All right, and if that gunfire keeps going the way it's going, you're not gonna be able to live here. The cops ain't gonna be able to come here. So we have to work on that together. All right, so this is why I'm here. This is the bridge I wanna build between the cops and the community. And I just need you to support me and work with me and partner with me, and we'll get it done, okay? All right, thank you.
Chief. Thank you, Chief. At this time, we're gonna do a little recap of the things that we discussed so that this conversation can continue in the future. It's not over. So the first thing we got is that instead of the officer having his hand on his gun, maybe he could have just a conversation. To prevent fatal encounters, is it possible to train the police force tactics that do not require weapons? Instead of using funds that were allocated to police, we used those funds for programming throughout the city. More dialogue with members in the community in plain clothes, and this can be as small as a good morning, just being polite in conversation, not being afraid of conversation. And lastly, lack of communication leads to distrust. So thank you all for sharing your experiences and going to that deeper place. Right underneath each of your chairs is an index card and a pen that says Stop Violence. And at this time, we're going to create a piece for peace. So Ms. Aisha likes to say it's a PIECE for a PEACE. Right. So your piece for peace is what brings you peace. You can finish the sentence, I find peace in, or I find peace by, whatever you like, or my peace is, whatever it is that you'd like. So take a second to write that down, and we're gonna pass out some instruments and create a little piece as proof of our gathering together today. So. Real quick. Just hold it up when you're done. Somebody will grab it. Thank you. Anybody need an index card to write your piece for peace? Four volunteers, hands up. One. Hands up. Two. Three. One more. Four. Was that? I counted you. 1, 2, 3. One more. You need 4. Thank you. You done? Thank you. Where are our 4 volunteers? Oh, your card. Thank you. Thank you. So we invite you to join this little musical performance, not a performance, sharing of space. You can bang a drum, you can clap your hands, you can stomp your feet, you can sing a tune, and someone will read your piece for peace. And we can create this together. You can shimmy your shoulders. Where are my 4 volunteers to read? So, oh, you have a, did that? Sorry, I took one. You did. The pen, no. Thank you. Did you volunteer? Okay. I feel like that might be. Okay, can I take that? Now, wait, did I take too many? Yeah, give him some. We're gonna, so.
Testing. Okay, everyone, real quick, we're going to have a little rhythm that's going to go along with the piece, Speak Your Piece. And anybody who has a drum or an instrument, you're going to be, I'm going to start off the rhythm. So just, follow with me. And we're going to, get it together. During the process of everybody, whenever anybody's reading their piece, we're going to bring the volume down just a little bit so we can hear them. And when they're done, we're going to bring it back up. We're going to work on some serious dynamics with that. And just have a good time and let the rhythm, evolve and take us to another level. Thank you.
Read it clearly so people can hear it. My piece is whatever they said, but look at it now so you're comfortable with what they said. Okay? And you give it a flow. Give it some energy. And so then the drum is going to go up.
Mr. Mayor, I'm looking forward to seeing your drum.
Next so breathe. Breathe. So part of the rhythm for this is you're going to set the pace. This is collective. You wrote a collective piece that you all just did. And so we have the readers, so we're going to have a beat. Whatever it is, right? People are going to chime in. Will it be perfect? No, it will be out of perfection, right? So then we're going to play the L before the E. And where is it next?
So it's just switch places. That's all right. That's good, though. I love Jill Scott. All right.
And so in between every beat, bring it up.
I love 1, 2.
So what we're going to do is when
All right, I don't hear that beat. Let me hear that beat.
Yeah.
All right, let me hear it.
You're the third.
Got him right.
I find peace. I find peace. I find peace. I find peace in lighting a candle, a candle, a candle, and listening to Jill Scott sing, and listening to Jill Scott sing. I find peace in lighting a candle and listening to Jill Scott sing. Ashe.
1, 2, 1, 2. Peace is communication. My piece is writing and rapping verbs. My piece is playing basketball. And my name is Jeff, and my piece is rocking on the 1s and 2s.
I find peace in quality time and real conversations with those around me. I find peace in quality time and real conversations with those around me. I find peace in laughter and music. I find peace in writing.
I find peace. I find peace. I find peace. I find peace. I find peace in honest conversation. My peace is my family being saved. My peace is being able to just sit and have a moment alone and sit in quiet.
I find peace in poetry. My peace is to create art. My peace is coming together as one.
Why you giving this to me?
I find peace. I find peace in music. My peace is hanging out with my friends.
I found.
Yeah.
All right. I found peace.
This is our peace.
I found peace. My peace is playing basketball with my friends.
Yeah. My peace. My peace. My peace. My peace is when I'm dancing with the young people. That's my peace. My peace is being stress-free. That's my peace. Get it, tap dancers.
Following the beat. You have the mic. Would you like to speak? We're gonna wrap it up, yeah. You wanna do your piece? It's up to you. Our tap dancers over there, that's Mr. Omar Edwards with the dreadlocks in the white shorts, my father, and team, he and his crew.
Yeah, it's all about the peace. So we want to say thank you to everybody that came out. I know some folks may have to leave, but we got the tap dancers are gonna do their thing for real. So Okay, so we're gonna have more tap. They're gonna stay, we're gonna eat, but I need to let the mayor, he has to get to Bed-Stuy. And I promised that we would have a hard stop for him to be able to say something before he leaves. So I'm gonna ask everybody to remain seated for a minute. And Mayor One, I just want folks to know how this originated. We had a meeting on a Sunday. We were talking about things that needed to happen. I said that my young people would love to be able to talk to you because they thought that I just had this direct line so that when the cops mistreat them or anything happens, that I should call the mayor. And when I told our mayor about that in the meeting, he said, well, you do. And we can have a conversation. Why don't we have a town hall? So because of COVID, we couldn't have the big town hall and invite everybody. I can't even tell you how many people are pissed right now, but it's okay. This is COVID and we have to be safe. So I couldn't invite everyone. But the great thing is we tried to have representation in this room. And I'm glad and grateful and thankful that you made a way. And of course, Chief Madry, thank you for your honor and your respect and your understanding to show up. Because they wanted to walk the block. And I said, we ain't walking the block until we set some pace, right? And we doing that. That's what we doing. We creating a way. So thank you, and thanks for the commitment to change. Before either one of you leave, we have, hopefully we got Sharpies, right? We got markers. So that banner is so people can just write their commitment. So if you just say something on that banner, Chief Madry, you too. So thank you. I'm glad we're here at this town hall.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you. I just want to thank you all for being a part of this together. Whenever we have an experience like this, I believe people grow. I believe they learn. I believe they change in a good way. So I can certainly say hearing your voices has a real impact for me. And it reminds me of what we got to do. And I do believe we can do things better. I truly believe it. But we all have to be in a dialogue with each other. So I'm very, very appreciative. I appreciate everyone who told a story, even though it was difficult to tell, because it's actually how the rest of us get the understanding we need to do things better. And I want to thank our wonderful MC, Ebony. Thank you. Well done, Ebony.
And Rahima and Amira.
And real thank you, because I really honor her heart and all she does for the community. Aisha Sekou, thank you so much. We honor you. But I'll just finish by saying I want people truly to believe in your own power. I try to help people understand our society in many ways devalues all of us. I think people of African descent have felt it in some ways more painfully than anyone. Young people feel it, young males especially. And it's not the way it was supposed to be, and it's not the way we can tolerate. But I can see the value of everyone in this room, and I can see the goodness of everyone in this room. And I think we have to all see it in ourselves. We have to see it in each other. And don't let anyone ever talk you out of your value. Don't let anyone talk you out of your power to make change. A lot of things in our society tell us what we can't do. I hope everyone feels an experience like this, that this is about what you can do. This is about what you bring to the table that is powerful and special and necessary. So thank you, everyone. Thank you for the chance to be with you. God bless you all.
Thank you, Mayor. Big shout out. Thank you, our Manhattan Borough President, Gail Brewer. Thank you for being here. We honor you, we respect you, and we thank you for showing up. State Senator Brian Benjamin, you always keep your word. You always show up. You're in the streets with me. I appreciate you. Athena Moore, thank you. Thank you for showing up. Love you. So we have some food. Who else is in the room? CB10, Cicely, Harris, thank you. Because I know you had plenty to do today. Thank you for being present. I appreciate you. Thank you for the walk in the community. So, and thank you to all the young people, all of the clergy that showed up, the Street Corner Resources Speak Peace Forward team who did all of the work to make sure that this happened and looked good, and of course the mayor's team for setting up, and of course Coach Brooks, thank you so much, and I'll say it again, you need full funding so we can have a full functioning facility right here. So thank you all. I hope I didn't leave anybody out, but we appreciate you. And of course, we want everybody before you leave to sign the wall with your commitment. Do not write over anybody's writing. Okay.